Benvinguts a la tercera edició del TED. Aquesta és una edició especial degut a les circumstàncies actuals amb la que ens trobem. No obstant, esperem que a poc puguem anar recuperant la normalitat i l'any vinent poder-ho realitzar de nou de manera presencial. Abans de començar, ens agradaria donar les gràcies a tots els centres participants i als seus alumnes, ja que sense el seu esforç i la seva implicació aquesta edició no hauria estat possible. En la jornada d'avui, que és la segona, tindrem 4 centres participants. Aquests són el Col·legi Maria Rosa Moles, l'Institut Gabriel Ferrater, l'Institut Miami i l'Institut Josep Tapiró. Així doncs, donarem pas a iniciar les presentacions dels vídeos i començarem amb el Col·legi Maria Rosa Moles, que es presentaran la roba no té gènere i l'horòscop i la pau.
Good morning. We are the group of Marc Pulido, Ana Vázquez, and me, Sara Simó, from Col·legi Maria Rosa Moles de Reus, and this is our TED Talk about gender equality in dressing.
What would you think if I told you that long time ago, men wearing skirts was normalized? Due to comfort uses, wearing a skirt was more standardized. Pants arrived later for warriors or for people that root horse.
What do you think now if you see a 5-year-old boy with a princess dress? On one hand, see girls with clothes from the boys section is in beginning more and more frequently than the opposite situation is less likely. I'm pretty sure you see around the street a girl with baggy trousers or baggy t-shirts. But do you ever see a boy with a skirt or dress? If so, how many times?
This shouldn't be a thing on the 21st century because we're working on gender equality. That's why we chose this topic related to the ODS. Have you ever really thought about the quantity of men feeling absurd for wearing skirts or the things they like?
That's sad because if he wore pants, he would be seen as a normal person and you probably wouldn't notice him. People shouldn't be treated differently because of their styles or their clothes preference.
Some bands started to make unisex collection, but they still have the sections from men and women. What do they do? Put all the clothes together and let people choose whatever they want?
Some famous people have started wearing opposite sex clothes, such as Harry Styles, Youngblood, Conan Gray, Prince, Billie Eilish, Kristen Stewart, and much more. So, just be confident and wear whatever you want. You don't have to listen to what others say about your style. Thanks for listening to our TED Talk. Hope you enjoy it.
Yes.
Hello, we are the group of Julia, Emma, Aroa, and me, Erika, and we want to ask you something. Is your destiny written in the stars?
The horoscope is a process that guesses the future of someone in the interpretation of the position of the solar system and the zodiac sign in the moment we are born. Some people don't believe in the zodiac signs, the horoscope, because there are no scientific facts that prove is it real.
The zodiac signs are divided in 4 sections: air, fire, water, and earth. We will talk about one in each group because they are similar to the others in the same group.
The different groups: the fire sign, Leo, Sagittarius, and Aries, and water sign, Cancer, Scorpio, and Pisces, earth sign, Taurus, Virgo, and Capricorn, and the water sign, Aquarius, Géminis, and Libra.
The fire signs: Scorpios. Scorpios are ruled by Mars, the planet of the world, and Pluto, the planet of the dead. Scorpios are passionate, emotional, loyal, vindictive, jealous, a little bit toxic. Joe Biden, the actual president of the United States, is a Scorpio.
The next is Aries, sign. It's also ruled by Mars. Are energetic, dominant people, passionate, impulsive, and violent. For example, Hitler, the dictator of Germany, was Aries. The next is Virgo, an air sign. It's ruled by Mercury. Virgo are honest, intelligent, minutious, and irritable. Virgo are always helping people. For example, Alexander Hamilton, a politician that is a father of America.
Lastly, Libra, another sign. Libras are ruled by Venus, the planet of beauty and love. They are kind, elegant, impartible in conflicts, sensitive, and Kim Kardashian and Rosalia are both Libras.
The personality is not only based of your horoscope sign, it's also just part of it, because the influences of the family is enormous, and the influences of the school are some part of to affect your personality.
Now that we have talked and we know the differences and the similarities between the zodiac signs, we can talk about the bees, our SDG that we have included in this lecture. We think that apart the concept of peace and the zodiac sign of the person in the government, it's important. Because, for example, we are not Hitler. We know all the bad things he did. And if we relate that to his zodiac sign, Aries, it makes sense. Once we have said that, we believe that apart of the ideas and the mentality of each candidate to be president, we should look up the zodiac sign too. Because if it's a Pacific sign, we will have peace, but if it's strong, we maybe have wars or conflict.
Thank you for listening and good.
Moltes gràcies a tots els alumnes del Col·legi Maria Rosa Moles. Les seves presentacions han sigut molt interessants. Un aplaudiment per vosaltres. A continuació, donarem pas a les presentacions de l'Institut Miami, que ens presentaran els nostres problemes i la gran pregunta.
Hello, morning. We are Julia and Ariadna, me, and we are from Institute Miami, and today we're going to talk about the world problems.
We have chosen the less common problems, but the ones that we think that affect us more.
The first one is the social media standards. We think it creates psychological problems, low self-esteem and complexes, because for example when you're on Instagram and you see the models or the famous people and you see their lives, you think they have a perfect life and you think your life is such a wrong one, but let me tell you, this life isn't real because they just post what they want you to see. And then we think it creates violence because you can insult someone on the phone with a fake account and they'll never know you were who was saying that kind of thing, sorry. And then we think it creates addiction because, for example, in my case, personally, when I am, for example, tidying my room, I usually look at my phone and say, okay, 5 minutes and I'll continue doing what I must. And then it's 1 hour and I'm still on my phone.
Also, all these platforms create lots of stereotypes, and most of them aren't true. Some ones makes us think that like how our life has to be, but it isn't. Another thing is that a group of 20-35 programmers has decided how do we think. Before, you would never go on the street and say, hey, I like your shoes. It's like, it has changed all of us.
So, the solution for this problem would be find out other hobbies, like for example, changing, instead of the phone, you can read a book, then you can administer your time. For example, I'll spend 5 minutes on the phone and then I'll go to do my homework. And you should look at the positive side too, because not everything with the social media is wrong. For example, you can communicate with people that are on the other side of the planet. The second problem is the hunger.
This is the main world problem. In 2016, it affected to 800 million of people, and almost 500 suffered from the war and weather problems. As you can see in this map, the most affected areas are Africa and South Asia. The hunger has consequences in adult people and also in children. Especially in children, you can see growth retardation because they do not have the nutrients they should have, and the child are underweight because they cannot gain weight because they do not eat literally anything. And the continents that are more affected, as Julia said, are Asia, Africa, and also Latin America and the Caribbean.
This is a very huge problem, but we think that some solutions could be climate-smart agriculture, responding to forced migration, fostering gender equality, reducing food waste, disaster risk reduction, and supporting hygiene and sanitation.
And finally, the last but not less important problem is the mental health. We consider the mental health a problem because we don't think the illness is a problem. We think the way it's not as visible as it should, it has not given the importance it should, it then makes it a bigger problem than it is. Because when you think about the word health, you think of physical health, like for example breaking a bone, but actually mental illness, like for example anxiety, are rough too. And we must be comprehensive with those people because we really do not know what they're going through, and it can affect themselves and the people they have around.
And with this theme, we don't have to be selfish. If you see someone that isn't looking flawless, maybe we don't want to get closer to feel as bad as they like the empathy, but that isn't an excuse. And in this area of communication and information, there are lots of fake news, myth, or simply popular culture that affects directly to the people who suffer these problems. For example, if you see a news of a guy that has schizophrenia and it has hurt his father, that doesn't mean that all schizophrenic people are aggressive. And this popular culture makes people with that problems be ashamed of it, and that isn't a thing that defines you. So we think that the most human solution is empathy. If you see someone that isn't feeling good, you don't have to go there and ask them to smile or promise them that all's gonna be okay. Just tell them that if something happens, you'll be there.
So it is basically then our presentation. We hope you've liked it, and thanks for your attention.
Hi, I'm Diana. I'm Christy Diana, and today we're going to introduce to you our presentation. The big question. The problem that we face is climate change. Why is that a problem? Because it's caused, for example, with pollution that deposits melt and thus increase the water level, and with contamination, we can also melt the ozone layer and timber forests. When they melt, it can cause mild flooding and flood the streets and houses, and cause the birds to be extinguished. With the pollution comes the ozone layer, and with that half a wave of heat, and with that fire, forests all over the world.
The smoke from the power plants, the coal transformed in fire. So with the smoke, break the ozone layer. How can we save the world? The minute that we can do is recycle. Because if we all collaborate, we can save the ozone layer and the nature on a smaller scale, and maybe stop the melting of the poles and save the polar bears. Thanks for your attention.
Moltes gràcies a tots els alumnes de l'Institut Miami. Les seves presentacions han estat molt originals i molt bones. Gràcies per participar. A continuació donarem pas a les presentacions de l'Institut Gabriel Ferrater, que ens presentaran la importància de les vacunes, acabar amb la pobresa rural, discriminació i igualtat, l'alimentació sostenible i el plor en l'anàlisi. Endavant.
Hello, my name is Ana Ruano and I'm 17 years old. I'm currently studying International Baccalaureate in Institut Gabriel Ferrater. In this short talk, I'm going to explain the importance of vaccines in our society in order to improve the human well-being. First of all, I want to highlight the importance of vaccines. Vaccination is the most important thing that we can do to protect ourselves and our children against ill health. They prevent up to 3 million deaths worldwide every year. Since vaccines were introduced in the United Kingdom, diseases like smallpox, polio and tetanus that used to kill or disable millions of people are either gone or seen very rarely. However, if people stop having vaccines, it's possible for infectious disease to quickly spread again. Additionally, vaccines teach your immune system how to create antibodies that protect you from a disease. It's much safer for your immune system to learn this through vaccination than by catching the disease and treating them. Once your immune system knows how to fight a disease, it can often protect you for many years. Something worth noticing is that all vaccines are thoroughly tested to make sure they will not harm your health. For this reason, it often takes many years for a vaccine to make it through all the trials and tests that it needs to pass for approval. Furthermore, most people are not concerned about the ingredients that make a vaccine as long as they know that they are safe. The main ingredient of any vaccine is a small amount of a bacteria, virus or toxin that's been weakened or destroyed in a laboratory first. This means that there's no risk for a healthy person of catching a disease from a vaccine. It should also be emphasized that the most common side effects of vaccination are that sometimes the area where the needle goes becomes red, swollen, and it might feel a bit sore for 2 or 3 days, and normally babies and young children develop high temperatures for 1 or 2 days. In recent years, vaccine opponents have challenged their safety and effectiveness. However, their arguments have generally been flawed. But not all people avoid vaccination because of safety concerns. Sometimes people simply don't know that they should be vaccinated. For example, people should get the flu vaccine every winter. Nowadays, COVID-19 vaccination will be an important tool to help people to stop the pandemic. Besides, some research is showing that those in well-off regions are more likely to have access to vaccination, while those in poorer communities are in greater risk of having less accessibility. For the vaccines to work to their highest of their ability, access should not be dictated by wealth. Ideally, those at high risk should be vaccinated first, with less vulnerable groups receiving their vaccine last. As a consequence, billions of individuals around the world might not have access to COVID-19 vaccines into 2021, which could prolong the pandemic and raise the risk of further mutations of the virus, undermining the effectiveness of existing vaccines.
In 2015, the United Nations posted a list of 17 goals to work on for a better and a more sustainable planet for around 2030. These goals, they all seem very abstract and difficult to accomplish. So in this short TED talk, we are gonna try to work on some individual things, very simple, that we can do as individual persons to approach our planet to these dream goals. I'm Jordi Senda. I'm currently studying first year of International Baccalaureate in INS Gabriel Ferrater, Reus. And as I said, I'll try to explain 2 concrete actions that we can do to end one of the problems which I have found to be the base of most of the problems of today's society, rural poverty. From the 699 million people considered poor in the world, it's estimated that 80% of them live in rural areas. Besides the humanitarian problem that this supposes, it also has effects in our economy and in the sustainability of the whole world. When farmers, they don't have enough resources to live their lives in the countryside, they have to move to cities and abandon their homes. This means that products that we use in our day-to-day life, meat, fruit, vegetable, is no longer available in shops, and distributors have to rely on products exported from other places, with the environmental effects that this additional transport have in our planet. So what we can do to fight against this increasing problem? The first thing, and very simple, is to buy local products and support local businesses. It's as simple as when you choose where to do your weekly shopping, you have to consider these small shops, these local shops, because they will probably have more products that are from nearby. Like this, you will also help to create a more diverse economy that doesn't rely on these big companies and big supermarkets. Secondly, and very related to the first one, is important to base our diet in season products. For example, if we are in the summer, we can make recipes using products available at that time. Watermelons, they are tomato, etc. And it's not necessary to use products that are only available other times of the year and that will need to be exported in our city, in our country, with the sustainability effects that this will have, as we said. Both actions will help to create more jobs as the demand of products will increase, and people in general and farmers will be able to return to the countryside because they will have decent salaries to live their life. It will also help to reduce the carbon footprint in our planet, so we will be working towards the goals that we have set at the start of the TED Talk. Thank you, and I encourage all of us to work together for a world with no injustice between difference and that respects the nature and the planet.
Hi, I am Adam, and today I'm going to talk about discrimination. Discrimination is a problem that has existed since ever. In all historical epochs, there have been people rejected by the society or treated differently from the rest. I think that the cause of discrimination is intolerance of diversity and the belief of being superior to others. The proof of this is that many people sadly believe that they are better than others because of their skin color or other characteristics, and despise those who don't look like them or don't like the same that them. Moreover, there are different types of discriminations, and they could be classified in different ways, but I think that there is a unique way to make this problem disappear, to eliminate discrimination and reach equality. I think that we should promote tolerance and respect among the population. For this purpose, the government of the different countries should take some measures. For example, they could launch political campaigns that show that all inhabitants of a country should be treated in the same way, or promote the creation of advertisements or other audiovisual content that favor the diversity of the inhabitants, or change laws that don't establish equality among citizens. On the other hand, I want to say that citizens who aren't rulers of countries like me and you, I suppose, can help achieve equality by changing the mentality of our acquaintances who tend to discriminate against certain groups of people. You should make them see that the regardless of gender, country of origin, religion, we are all people and we deserve dignified and respectful treatment. And before finishing, I assign you a mission. Yes, to you who is watching me, I think that you should and try promoting equality and act when you see an inequality. Remember that people like you are the ones who change the world. Goodbye.
Hello, my name is David Chifre, and I'm here to talk about Sustainable Development Goals. When I first heard this topic, I thought, as I suppose almost everybody did, when he first heard this topic, about poverty in Africa, immigration, discrimination, plastics in the ocean, the Amazonas jungle, which is always burning. But I wanted to talk about something more personal, something we could really change. Despite these topics I have said are, I think, the most important challenge of our humanity, I will talk about something more personal, as I've said, that it is our food, our way of eating. I suppose everybody, when hears this topic, will think about vegetarianism, because it is the trendy topic of the society. But I'm not here to talk about vegetarianism, because I'm not a vegetarian. I only want to talk about the food we buy, to be informed about what we are buying. For example, when we buy an egg, there's a code. And it is important to know what code it has, because if there's a 3, for example, that means that the chicken that has laid this egg have never seen the sunlight and have never touched the floor. On the other hand, an egg with a 0 means that comes from a chicken who has always been free and eaten vegetables and all that stuff, and it will be very healthy. So before buying all these kind of products, all the same with the milk and all the meat, I think the problem is it's not eating meat, but knowing where this meat comes from. Another thing we should do when we buy products is to try to buy them from season, talking about vegetables, and from near. Why this? First of all, because we are helping our country. We are creating places of job in our country if we are buying products of our country. Second one, we are helping the environment. Why? Because these products will not have to travel from the other side of the world to here. And finally, but not less important, it will help our health. Why? Because these vegetables will have been picked up quite after the products that come from the other side of the world. So, thank you for listening to me. I think I've helped you, and you can apply these advices on your day-to-day life.
There are thousands and thousands of stereotypes in the world that create differences between us, and I'm 100% sure that since we were little, we have seen or lived many of them. It is our duty as human beings to eliminate those stereotypes, because if we don't, we will not reach the equality we always say we want. In this presentation, I'll talk about the importance of crying. Most people in our society define crying as a sign of weakness. But what almost anyone knows is that crying is not only a human response to sorrow and frustration, but also a healthy one. Crying is a natural response humans have to a range of emotions, including sadness, grief, joy, and frustration, but crying also makes you feel better. There are 3 different types of tears. The first one, basal. This type of tear is the basic functional one. These tears are released continuously in tiny quantities to lubricate the cornea and keep it clear of dust and fight against bacterial infection. Reflex. This type of tears are the result from irritation of the eye by foreign particles. The one that we are most used to is when our eyes need to wash away onion fumes. Emotional. The emotional tears are triggered by strong feelings such as sadness and are influenced by biological, psychological, and social factors. A curious feature is that these tears are unique to humans. But the main question is, how is crying good for you? Okay, so the first reason, it relieves stress. Yes, so if you're really stressed out because of schoolwork or for any reason really, crying can help you reduce your level of stress and can provide you a temporary release. Crying lowers blood pressure. This may not mean anything to you, but we don't have to forget that high blood pressure can damage the heart and blood vessels. Tears remove toxins and fight bacteria. In addition, tears remove toxins from our bodies. It improves vision. Basal tears helps to keep the eye moist and prevent our eyes from drying out. Aid sleep. Some scientists found out that crying can help babies sleep better. Whether crying has the same effect on adults is yet to be researched. And the sixth one, helps to relieve pain. Some research has found that shedding emotional tears releases endorphins. And these ones are the main health benefits crying has. So forget about trying to hold back your tears in the belief that crying is a sign of weakness.
Moltes gràcies a tots els alumnes del Gabriel Ferreter que han pres una estona per fer aquestes presentacions. Han estat molt interessants. I per últim, finalitzarem la jornada d'avui amb les presentacions de l'Institut Josep Tapiró, que ens presentaran com alliberar-se dels ulls dels altres, sí, sóc un introvertit, i el karma.
Hi, my name is Aya. I'm a 4 years old student at Josep Tapiró, and today I'm going to talk about how to free yourself from the eyes of others. So, how can we explain that some people jeer while others do not? How can we explain that, for example, Charles' nephew, his singing teachers told him that he had neither the size or the voice, and he had better to change his career, could become a legend of the song? How can we explain that a person like Antoine Griezmann, who has told that he was too small to play football and was rejected by 4 clubs, could win the World Cup? How can we finally explain that some people manage to overcome the fear linked to the fear of the other's look? The most important fear on the human is the fear of being excluded from the social circle, the fear of being rejected. And as a result, we get back of being afraid about the idea of the judgment. So I found 3 ways to release yourself. The first way is training. Train every day, challenge yourself, do things you don't know. And no matter how the others look, and you will be proud of yourself, because training makes criticism obsolete. You should know that the way we perceive is different because we don't have the same brain. And what's important for me, for another one, is root. And this is good news because we can get rid of the idea that people can criticize us and say, criticism is inevitable, so do what you want to do. Sometimes we perceive that we are very intelligent about the way of the others, but you must know that from the moment you release yourself, you're also free to be criticized by others. And the only risk is inspiring someone. Thank you.
Hi, I am Farah Taunta. I am a 4-year-old student at Joseph Tapiro High School. And I'm here today trying to be something I'm not. Like writing a TED Talk, sharing my ideas, and talking in front of such a large group of people. No, I know a lot of you are probably thinking, she sounds a bit shy, or she probably gets nervous easily. Yeah, all those things are 100% true. But why? To ask simply, I am an introvert. So what is an introvert? An introvert is a quiet person that doesn't like to talk very much and likes to keep their thoughts mostly to themselves. So the main thing I want to address in this talk is that there is nothing wrong with being an introvert. However, society doesn't see it in the same light. Society has taught us that being an introvert is the worst thing you can be, and that everyone should want to be extroverted. We're told that being outgoing is good, and being shy and quiet is bad. We're told in elementary school we have to raise our hands, participate in class, or we lose marks. Every year at parent-teacher interviews, my parents will learn the same thing. Your daughter is very shy, she needs to learn to speak up more. Now, looking back, I realize I have passions. I have videos on the world, and I have opinions. I just didn't want to share of them, but is there anything wrong with that? Statistics say that 50% of Spanish population is made up of introverts. So society is telling that 50% of Spanish people, about 23 million people, that they need to change who they are to be accepted, to be successful, and to be happy. Keep in mind within this large group of introverts in the world are people such as Isaac Newton, Nikola Tesla, Albert Einstein, Michael Jordan, and so many more incredible, inspiring people. Do you think being an introvert has ever stopped any of them from achieving goals or being happy? No. A lot of you have probably been told something along the lines of, why be a follower when you can be a leader? But what about every leader needs a follower? Let's look at Mr. Justin Trudeau, Prime Minister of Canada. Do you think he would be who he is today without the support of the people? If everyone was trying to be a leader, no one would truly succeed, as it's the followers that define a true leader. But that's not to say that an introvert can be a leader. Let's look at Abraham Lincoln, Rosa Parks, and Gandhi, all incredible inspirational leaders and all introverts. So being an introvert has no effect on how happy or how successful you're going to be, as long as you see it in the right lighting. If you see yourself as an introvert and you think it's the worst thing you can be, you're never going to be truly happy with yourself and you're going to constantly try to change to conform to society. But if you accept yourself as an introvert and you're happy, there's nothing in the way of you achieving your goals and getting what you want.
Hi guys, my name is Samira and I am a 4-year-old student at Joseph Tapiro High School. Today, dear listeners, I will remind you of a topic that we tend to see it in the worst way, but that it is not quite like that. Karma. It is a very curious fact from a point of view, since we all fear karma, but we don't think about what we did before we decided it. First, I would like to start by giving you an example of what karma will be. You can deny that many times you have had the evil idea of playing a joke to our friends or family members. In our mind, this joke sounds amazing, and we're just waiting the moment to play it. But when we decide to play this prank, boom! We are scared by them. We will probably be thinking, why? I was scared. Why did this have to happen to me? Well, so this is negative karma. The problem of many of us have is that we don't know that karma can be in a positive way too. A clear example will be in a class. I mean, the students who study and make an effort get a reward, which are good results and good marks. So this is positive karma. Now I want to explain to you what karma really is. Karma is a Sanskrit name for action. It is equivalent to Newton's law, that every action has a reaction. Karma is a judge of our actions. It is the invisible energy that is derived by our behaviors and accumulates consequences. We have three types of karma. The first one is the Partha karma. It's the karma that is felt at the moment when the action is being performed. Next, we have Sanchita karma. Are the memories that have stayed in our mind and have an effect to our future actions. And finally, Agami karma is the effect that an action in the present will have on the future. What I want to get you with this TED Talk is to be able to make you dare to create your story. The person who knows the rules of the game of karma will inevitably play the game. Think and prepare yourself. Say with me, now I will create my own story. And now I decide to write these chapters. I'm the author of my character. Choose even how to live and how to live this life. Finally, I would like to end my presentation with a great and meaningful quote of Sessió. What we do leaves a seed in our deep consciousness, and one day this seed will grow. Thanks for your attention.
Moltes gràcies també als alumnes de l'Institut Josep Tapiró per aquestes xerrades tan interessants. Amb aquests vídeos posem punt i final a la jornada d'avui. Donar-vos les gràcies per la vostra atenció i us esperem demà a la tercera jornada. Adéu, que vagi bé.